Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Oliver, and this is Film Seizure. I am joined by my two co-hosts, Jeff Arbuckle.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, there he is.
Hey, that's me.
And another guy, Chuck Moore.
Hey, everybody. Do you remember when the ending was what we never landed? It seems like lately it's the beginnings that were.
I'm coming up to the plate next week. We'll be fine.
What do I need to start over? Because
no.
I assumed that we were gonna cut out the beginning of that.
No, you guys.
Good.
No,
It's
no.
good.
I mean,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
we're fine. We're fine. But
This is
Chuck, don't worry.
ridiculous.
Casey's coming to the plate next week. So
It's ridiculous.
I meant it's just always different. It's not bad. It's just always different. But go ahead, Jason. Talk about today's movie.
well, yeah. What are we doing? What's this week, Jason?
This week is 2014, I think. 2014.
Yep.
The Guest. Written by Simon Barrett and directed by Adam Wingard. Both of whom have had new movies recently.
Well, they both have had a new movie this year with the star of this movie, because
Yes.
I sure as fuck saw it. That was Godzilla X Kong.
Indeed. They've both been very busy lately.
Yes, I like them. I like them in general. So
I do too. I like the types of movies Simon Barrett writes. They're just fun, kind of breezy horror
but they're also
thrillers.
kind of cool. Like there's
But
like
they
a
have an
cool
element-
attitude.
Yeah, like the breezy coolness to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie is a very cool movie.
It is. It is a very
Yeah.
cool movie, and they tapped Steve Moore to do the score, which makes it very cool with the synths. But they also use a lot of songs from Survive, who became famous not long after this movie for Stranger Things.
Oh, it is the Stranger Things group. Okay.
Yeah, it's two of four people from Survive do the Stranger Things
Makes sense.
stuff. But they also sprinkle in a lot of like 80s new wave and 80s synth stuff too. I really like the score to this movie, soundtrack to the score. Like all the music in this movie kind of like brings it up a notch for me. Kind of like Drive, right?
That's exactly what it makes me think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost got a similar color palette too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it does. It feels like a movie kind of out of place in time, right?
Yeah, and
Temporary, but not, Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not entirely sure that anybody in this are real people, are real boys. Like there's a detachment to it that makes it that kind of cool. That I like, because it's like Micah Monroe does not seem like she seems perfectly the small town kind of rebellious, like young adult girl, but also doesn't feel like she fits there either. Like, but that's maybe makes it more real. I don't know.
I thought she was going to be so much younger when I realized this was 2014. And I'm like, oh, Micah Monroe was probably a baby. And then the first scene she's in, I'm like, nope, not a baby.
Nope. Yeah, that was one of my notes.
Yeah. And,
but this is the same year as It
actually
Follows.
She's actually playing her age, which is rare. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sure is. Yeah. So yeah, 20, 21.
But now she's not anymore. She's like stayed playing that age, it feels like, for
And
the
she did
most
for
part.
a while. I wouldn't say, though, Longlegs, she's...
No, in Longlegs, she's like late 20s, I would say.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Which
Good
would
point.
mean that she's like... She was probably 30, 31 when she shot that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still pretty close to her real age. Anyway.
Fair point. Fair.
Anyway.
But not that one-to-one that this movie has. Yeah.
No. But yeah, I mean, this movie kind of like... I felt like it sort of came out of left field because they made it, I guess, on the strength of You're Next, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're Next was a pretty big surprise horror film hit, and then when I saw The Guest, I was like, wow, Dan Stevens is making movies now, because he, I think, had just kind of left Downton Abbey around this time and was he left Downton Abbey because he wanted to make movies. And I was like, oh, they got Dan Stevens. That's interesting. So I watched it, and I was like, ooh, I like this. This is just, kind of a cool watch, right? It's not anything groundbreaking. It's not anything like and it was never gonna, be on any like critical darling list probably, but I think it was actually pretty well reviewed in general.
Yeah, I think it was too. I do want to say a couple of things real quick. This was actually the first time I saw this movie.
Oh, okay.
I've been saving it because this has been on our list for so long.
Yeah.
Because I mean we've been wanting to do this for like 3 or 4 years, I think. And we keep pushing it, and then we finally got to it.
Yeah.
And so and I didn't watch the trailer. I knew that there was a sequel baity end that does not result in a sequel, and I hope never does. But that was all that I knew about it, was that the end was just very cool and different.
It is a cool ending.
Yeah.
There is actually a sequel.
Well, on soundtrack, I was going to ask you if you'd listened to that, because I was reading about that. Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool. I like that they did that. It's kind of neat. Like they're like, we're probably never going to be able to go back to this well, but hey, we can kind of keep the spirit alive and do a soundtrack for it, which I think is fun.
Well, then, like the very first thing when the movie started, I was like, oh, Exorcist font. It's like, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. My brain works in weird ways, guys.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have seen this before, but I spent most of the time watching it trying to figure that out. But the one that I sent Jason a message because I wasn't sure if you had watched it yet, Jeff. And I was like, this is like bad Uncle Buck.
Kind of, yeah. Well, because the way I kind of look at this is a movie that technically, if you really kind of describe it to somebody, like no one will really think it should be that good or as good as it is. Like it reads, if you were just reading the script, it reads like a trimmed down Lifetime movie of the week. And what I mean by trimmed down is that there's no melodrama stuff, but it's all the same like all the same action, all the same kind of, who is this guy? What's he doing? Is he bad guy or is he good guy? Why is he so attractive to people? And why is he so, and then like he's a crazy motherfucker.
He seems a little unhinged now.
It's like he's staring awkwardly now,
and the music's going the boom.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but then like, aside from the very first mistake that is made in this movie, nobody really makes really bad mistake, like really stupid mistake. Like this is not an idiot plot, like a lot of those Lifetime movies are, right? So it's like. This is a movie.
There's one kind of idiot in it, but yeah.
Well, there is definitely one idiot in it, but he's in his own world. But like, except for accepting him into the house, there's no super atrocious mistake made by Micah Monroe, her little brother, the mom.
There's totally a mistake made by the little brother. A huge.
Well, okay, there is a huge one, but it's a little bit. I would say it's kind of a little bit more of an innocent mistake because he's being seduced in a different way.
Yeah. It plays to his character and how
his need
and how he's being manipulated. Yeah.
Yeah. It plays to his need. So it's not like somebody saying, I should leave this guy because he's being abusive. Oh, no, wait, he just proposed to me, so I'm going to get married to him. That's the Lifetime mistake, right? This movie doesn't make those types of idiot plot mistakes that has to keep the movie rolling. Like everything rolls the way it should. Like it doesn't seem wobbly, doesn't seem off.
And we get some Lance Reddick shooting guns. May he rest in peace. Always love to see Lance Reddick show up.
Well, you also have Ethan Embry for a single scene.
Yeah.
A single scene. It's like, wow, what's he been up to?
Yeah, that always surprises me. And yeah, like the plot could be way more convoluted with like his backstory than it is as well. It's kind of like it all sort of makes sense, but they don't really belabor it too much.
This is the kind of plot that drives my wife insane because it doesn't have enough of the reason.
It doesn't have the explanation. Yeah.
It doesn't have enough of the reason.
But it would take too long to explain.
It would, well, to be honest,
for that.
Thanks, Dan Stevens. Thanks.
Yeah.
I actually appreciate that.
Right. I mean, and then
I guess.
Yeah, it's like he stepped out of the movie to say, "All right, guys, listen." Like he turns to the camera, it's like, "We could go into this, but it's going to stop this movie deader than what I'm stopping this at right now. So let's just go back to the movie." He just like turns back to the scene.
It's like that Bruce Willis line in Looper where he's like, if we start talking about time travel, we got to talk about all this, straws and loops and this. It's like we're not gonna do it. We're just not gonna do it. Just accept it.
That's what I appreciate about Looper because it doesn't make me consider what's actually happening. When me and time travel.
Oh yeah, I know. I was about to say something. Yeah, it's like, I mean, they even they even tried to go down a rabbit hole in Endgame, which just ended up them going down a rabbit hole literally to go do what they had to do. So it's like, fuck it, just do it. Just who cares?
Just do it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like that's the one thing. There is one thing about this movie that, if it was any lesser of the movie that it was, or didn't have built up as much good faith as it did, there's one moment in this movie that in a lesser movie, I would have said, fuck this movie, I'm out, but I
probably know this scene, and it kind of has to happen because all the dominoes fell. Yeah, all the dominoes fell. Yeah. And that person unfortunately had to die, and it's like that. But it really added stakes as opposed to being something where I said that didn't have to happen. Why did that have to happen? I'm out. It kind of lends a little bit to the explanation of his neuro programming, right?
Yeah.
Which is where I was watching this movie, not for the first time, but for the first time thinking of his character in this way. He's kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. He's a mix of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator in Terminator 1 and in Terminator 2.
And Uncle Buck.
Uncle Buck, yeah.
And a dash of John Candy, yeah.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, there's no, this is a very lean John Candy.
Yeah. John Candy has never looked so handsome.
I know.
This is John unsweetened.
Oh man, there are so many great like synth sting moments with Dan Stevens smoldering or staring off into space in this movie.
My god.
Yeah.
It's like perfectly used because, and I think Jeff, one of you two mentioned this earlier, like you don't really know he's a bad guy, but he's going to be a bad guy because of those little stings of music with him. Or even like the first time he shows up, it's like, oh shit. Yeah. And then he's like, hi, hey ma'am, how's it? Yeah, I know your son. He died.
Yeah. Well, and that
he wanted you to know he really loved you. I don't know why that's my Dan Stevens voice.
That's a great Dan Stevens impression.
I'm trying to think of any of the movies I've seen Dan Stevens. Nope, he's never sounded like that. But now he will forever. Yeah. But there's the one stare in particular where it's like, yep, we're turning now. This whole thing is going the other direction. We had been given the signs, and now, he really wants that fucking CD, and he's just going to sit on the bed and wait for it and stare.
Like, I need more Clan of Zymox. When will she give me the mix?
That's what he went there for. Oh, I didn't realize why he was there until just now. He wanted the mix.
All right, so I think we should probably
set it up.
We talked about him arriving, and the movie starts very quickly because he runs into town with his gigantic sack.
Duffel bag. Yeah.
His gigantic sack. Yeah,
gigantic sack.
Yeah, he is swinging that around a little bit later on. Yeah. New guy in town has got some
nuts.
But yeah, he shows up at the home of the Petersons. And we meet the mom, Laura, who I have known for all my life, that actress. And it just hit me yesterday. It's like, why? I was watching the movie. I was like, why is she so familiar? Why? Well, because she was Debbie in Singles, and she was the unseen but pictured girlfriend of Charlie. And So I Married an Axe Murderer, ex-girlfriend of Charlie.
That's the last movie. She's done TV since, but this is the last movie she ever made.
Yeah. But so her. So the Petersons are kind of rocked by a couple of things. One, the parents, Laura and Spencer, are fighting ever since, and Spencer's an idiot. Spencer's just a fucking moron.
He has to be like comic relief in this movie, right?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like he seems to be like everything that is his problem is classic, like put upon guy in sitcom problem.
I was going to say he's like a Canadian sitcom character.
He's got a little bit of a sheen of shittiness, doesn't he?
Yeah. What if he has the PTSD, Marge?
Yeah.
That guy is like a weird actor. It's Leland Orser. He shows up and stuff all the time, and I can almost never connect him to anything, but I always recognize him.
Well, throughout the first 5 minutes, I was like, "Is this Judd Nelson?" Because he's got a little Judd Nelson to him.
He was in all those Taken movies. I think he was like Liam Neeson's like sidekick guy. You know,
he would totally be a sidekick guy in a movie. Yeah, but yeah, it's like but like he's like all of his problems are so like thinly written, stupid problems that you give the patriarch of a family, right? Like he wanted the job position that was given to somebody else. He dresses like shit. He just comes home and immediately drinks because his life is shit.
I'm gonna have a beer before.
Yeah.
You want a beer?
And
what's funny about this is it uses all those same bullshit reasons for a character to die.
Yep.
Right? Like the bullies, the dad's boss. Like, so like that's the next person to die. That they're setting that up right now for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's so weird because this is a slasher movie that isn't a slasher movie set at Halloween, and it's not a Halloween movie. It's not that kind of horror movie.
Yeah.
Which adds that whole extra layer of, wow, this is kind of cool. You know, it's like it's not falling. It uses the tropes, but doesn't fall into them.
It's in the box of the wrong movie. Right?
Yes.
Like it's using the tropes of a movie that you'd expect it to be in, but this isn't that movie. I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah, it's smarter than those movies. It's like a little bit more interesting than some of those movies.
Plus, Dan Stevens and Mike Monroe are pretty awesome in it.
Yeah.
That helps.
And they're both incredibly attractive.
Yeah. It's like, okay, when are we going to see?
Yeah,
when are we going to see
charismatic for sure?
Good-looking people making out here? It's like when am I going to see that? It's like that's I was thinking that for the first half of the
movie, and they do play with that sexual tension in like the first act really well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's even kind of there with the mom in a sort of a way, right? Like not on
more with her. It's like a replacement, I think, for her son that she lost. Right?
Well, partly a replacement for the son, partly for the idea of what the husband should be in her life, like because he takes charge, and this guy he's not weighed down by his stupid bullshit work problems. You know,
I mean, he is, but
well, yeah, he's just a lot more manly at work.
Yes,
he's not some asshole cuck at work. Yeah, he's like the fucking big time big boss. You know, but no, he. So the family has a member that's been killed who was in the army. So the son has been killed, and he's coming in to say, I served with your son. I knew him. I was friends with him. We were brothers, basically. So I came, and he just kind of shows up, which, really did also get me thinking. It's like, that feels somewhat realistic that people could really, really hurt someone with.
Oh, yeah.
It's like there's a realistic setup here for a horror story of a guy just showing up saying, I was with your son in the army and he died and I was with him when he died. And and then he builds this whole story around.
There's a newspaper clipping of that somewhere. There's got to be.
Absolutely.
This has definitely happened before.
I mean, I feel like Simon Barrett had to have read a story like this at some point, and it's like, that sounds like a great horror movie.
Well, it's interesting. I can't remember the name of it. I just watched the movie, it's like a frontier horror film, like Dust Bowl horror film, with Sarah Paulson in it. It was okay. It was just all right. But there's a plot line in that about a guy who says he knows the father of the family, right? And that he's told him he was going to be going through town, and he told him to check on them, and he ingratiates himself into this family, but it's all bullshit, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that movie, but I can't remember what it's called either.
Yeah, it's like something with wind and dust and blown away or something. I don't remember.
That's the exact name of the movie, Chuck. Look it up.
Wind and dust and blown away.
Here, I'll do my homework here.
But yeah, I mean,
Hold your breath. That's an
there it is. But that's the one thing about this movie also that got me thinking right away, which is like, it's bad enough to lose like a son or a daughter to illness, right? When it shouldn't happen to somebody young. And it's one thing for an accident to happen, but the military seems to be something a little bit more unique in this day and age, because you have to sign up to essentially, potentially go off and die. And that is a different type of hurt that is being exploited here by this character. Whether it turns out, oh, the guest is the good guy in this movie and it's somebody else who's the bad guy, that's still a manipulative, exploitative thing that he's worming his way through. And it is like, I couldn't imagine what that would be like, to have a guy show up and say, yeah, your dead son, I was his best friend.
But I mean, his explanation is good enough, right? Like,
well, he's in the picture too.
He's like, I promised him I would do this.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's right there in the picture on the mantle too.
Yeah. You can get behind that. Like, he's following through on his comrade's dying wish.
Which then also ends up being a whole other layer too, right? Because it's like, you don't know how people get over that kind of a loss in that scenario, in which case you are following up on somebody's wish, not realizing whether or not, and it happens right away. The mom breaks down crying in the other room, and he apologizes and saying, maybe I should have called first, or maybe I did the wrong thing, and so that gets you thinking too. It's like, the family's in a different place than he would be potentially if everything was on the up and up. So, I mean, it's an interesting start. It gets your brain thinking a little bit.
It definitely got your brain thinking a lot. You got lots of thoughts.
It did.
lots of thoughts.
And then Micah Monroe is just sleeping on top of her covers on the bed. Like, come on now. It's like, are you kidding me? It's at that point, my brain fritzed out and I'm like, okay, I'm in it.
She showed up immediately after I told Steph. She had to be a baby when she made this. She has to be a young girl. But yeah, I mean, what is his name? Caleb's the brother. What is?
Yes, Caleb's the brother.
David is David is Dan Stevens.
That actor was he was the son in Color Out of Space too.
Oh no, you're.
Oh, the other brother?
About Luke. You're talking about Luke, the youngest brother.
I'm talking about Luke. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Caleb is the oldest
brother who died. Yeah, sorry.
Luke and Anna are the surviving kids.
Yeah.
Caleb was the oldest. Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, like, he ingratiates himself by doing all the right things, right? Like, I should have called. I didn't mean to upset you. I can't impose on you. I can't, like, it's almost like reverse psychology on her. Like, I can't put this nice boy out. right? Like
especially when he's an attractive guy too, right? I mean, like that's part of this grift a little bit, is that
he's
like
he's
exactly he doesn't look like some like he doesn't look like a monster.
But what if he has the PTSD, Jeff?
Well, that's fair. I mean that I mean he has something.
But he ends up charming the dad too, right? So the dad
instantly,
the dad is like, he has the right initial response. Sorry, in this day and age, to be cynical. And even if it is who he says he is this a problem that we want? We don't really know who he is. We don't really know him. But they argue about it, and then he kind of works his charm on dad too, right? He gets him by the end of the night, like telling him all about his work problems.
Yeah, they're getting drunk.
Yeah. And you kind of get the sense that David is a good listener in these early scenes, right? He's learning who these people are, and it feels a little bit off, but you can kind of see how they're using David as like almost like a therapist without really realizing it.
Proxy.
Yeah. The therapist proxy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and in the guise also of this is what I would have told Caleb if he was here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And they have a family that is essentially, even though they don't admit it and it's not quite there yet, is falling apart.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
One quick moment, one flashing moment, he's like made it feel like they never lost their son, right?
Yeah.
Right.
When they were all off on their
coming
separate,
right out and saying it,
yeah,
he's filled the hole that has started to unravel their family. Yeah.
Right. And the only one that really recognizes it at first is Micah. And not because of him necessarily, but because she knows that the family is just getting over the grief or still trying to move past it, and reintroducing this guy brings up all those old feelings. However, she doesn't recognize, I don't think, that her family is falling apart either. So even if they did continue down their path of resolving their grief,
it's going to probably take them in separate directions. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They're kind of all on their own paths, kind of working away from a center point. And now David has created a new center of gravity that's pulling them all back in.
Right.
And there is something revealed later that maybe Anna does know that things are falling apart, because she has a boyfriend that she was supposed to break up with, but never told her parents that she broke up with him.
I mean,
those types of things happen because that there's weirdness in the.
I don't know. I have kids. I assume they would lie for very different reasons than just that.
Well, sure, but I mean, there's already there's already a lot of friction among members of the family,
right? And we don't
and she knows it intimately that way.
It's really hard to assess what her motivation is there, because it's only used as a plot point, right? It's not. There's no explanation given to why he, just because her parents know he's a drug dealer is the only thing we really know, and she knows he's better than that.
Right.
But you can't convince your parents of that. Neither here nor there, but we don't have all the details, right? You have to, but they conjure them.
The dad does make a pretty, I mean, again, this is he's written so thinly in such an interesting way that he's the one who immediately makes the jump from, well, he sells drugs, so he absolutely probably killed a guy, and right. It's that he really probably shouldn't go that way, but he's just so checked out. It's well, I told you to break up with him, so he just assumes the worst of him at that point. But
plus, he's not going to accept that his new buddy killed anyone, or is not who he says.
Yeah, we're jumping several points there, but yeah, you're right about that too. It's he's protecting his friend much the same as she's protecting her boyfriend.
Yes. So yeah, we have a series, right, of events. The youngest brother, Luke, he's getting bullied for whatever fucking reason because he's a nerd, probably a nerd gamer or whatever stupid reason he's getting bullied.
Right. Oh yeah, because he's like a computer kid. Like, because she wants him to look up something. That's like, we get the impression that like he's kind of he's like a very computer guy. Like,
yeah, he's a hacker.
Yeah,
he's a 90s hacker.
Yeah. Right. And he's being bullied by Stephen King bullies.
Yes.
Well, he doesn't really do any hacking, but
no, I mean he has that. He's definitely not a hacker, but
yeah. He's really good at Googling.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Or whatever it's called in this. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called in this. But he has that kind of
whatever the stigma was on kids who knew computers, right?
Just that he wasn't very social. He's just not social.
Yeah. Right. But he gets beat up by those guys, and he like classic they're next kind of shit, right? Like, immediately that they're going to be the first victims.
One of my notes says Dan Stevens is about to fuck up some kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
yeah, mine is bullies. We know who the first to die are.
If they're old enough to get illegally served beer, they're old enough to get the shit kicked out of them.
Yes. Well, I mean, quite frankly, they kind of call it upon themselves.
Well, they do,
definitely.
And he makes some of them do their own work for them, which is really fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but
yeah. He got dropped into the middle of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, where the bad guys have to punch each other because
they punch each other. Yeah.
Did they even tell us where they're at? Because I assume it's like Texas. If football stars are getting,
he was on his way to Florida because he's from Florida. He's on his way from Florida. So my assumption was that they were in the Carolinas.
Oh, weird.
I don't know why that necessarily, but I was getting like Carolina, Georgia, someplace around it because he said he was on his way to Florida.
Yeah, I don't think that they ever say.
They don't.
It does kind of strike me as Texas-esque.
Because of the football stars, the high school football stars getting beer at a bar. It feels like that. But
it's also like very, there's not a whole lot of landscape.
No. Yeah. I mean,
it is kind of a roadside bar they end up at too.
Yeah,
like
it
like Roadhouse.
Like a dusty town, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Blown away, hold your breath, wind blown, dusty town.
Asphyxiation.
But yeah, I really like that scene, and it's the kind of scene in another movie where the good guy wins, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're rooting for him to beat these shitheads up because they beat Luke up. And that kind of gives you a weird feeling, right? Because
totally, yeah.
He's the bad guy, but you're also like, I hope he fucking destroys these kids.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, those kids are also very much bad guys. I like it when bad guys beat up bad guys.
Oh, like, man, let's talk about when
they take themselves out.
What he orders in the bar. It's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
So he goes to the bar with because they notice that they follow the bullies, and he's like, they're going to a bar. And a kid is like, yeah, because they will serve them beer.
Because they're on the football team. Yep.
So he goes in there. He's like, well, you coming? He's like, no, I'm not going in there, man. Luke he's, like, I don't know who this guy is. And these boys terrifying me. So this is not a situation he wants to go in. But he's still kind of stuck in the car. So he decides to go in. And he sits down. And Dan Stevens orders, what does he call it? A fireball?
Yes.
And I've never heard of this. I'm sorry, but this is crazy. It's Tabasco sauce with cinnamon whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
But it is like, imagine the volume that you would use for like tomato juice, right? And maybe put a shot of whiskey in that. That volume is all straight Tabasco sauce.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it looks like a Bloody Mary.
Like, but I would put like a little Tabasco sauce in like an oyster shot or something, but I wouldn't make Tabasco be the main volume liquid.
Okay, but he's not drinking this because this is what he normally drinks.
No, he's not. He's setting it up, but he does.
I mean, he will take a drink of it, and he will offer it to Luke as well.
Funny. It's funny. Right. I love what Luke asks. You drink that? Because Luke tries it, he spits it out, and he takes a sip, and he says, "Yep."
It's like any fucking liquor, right? Like,
yeah.
The first time I had bourbon or something, like,
oh yeah, it's rough.
Who the fuck drinks this shit?
Yeah,
but the fact is that this is a drink that even the bartender knows how to make when he orders it. So there are actually people ordering this.
in the guest cinematic universe. Yes.
Yeah, in the town of North Carolina, Texas. Yes.
What do we call it? Texarlina?
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 Texarlina.
Yeah.
Texarlina, yes. But anyway, he then orders blowjob shots for all the girls. And the way,
because he's like, hey, they look like they're drinking cheap beer. Now, why would they be drinking cheap beer?
That's a shame.
Yeah.
And then
and like,
he's like, well, would you like to buy a drink for their fellers too? He's like, why would I do that? It's like,
do I look like a guy who wants to fucking buy them drinks?
Like, yeah. Well, and he says, well, it would be the polite thing to do.
And then he gets some cosmopolitans.
The bartender knows where this is heading, right?
Yeah,
right. Like trying to cut it off at the pass, but David's not having it. He's like, "Oh, you're right. Send him some cosmopolitans." And you can see the bartender just like rolls his eyes, like, "Oh shit," you know.
Yeah,
and he still doesn't want to do it, but then David puts
$200.
$200 on the table.
Keep whatever change out of this. Now he does also say,
then you see him walking over there with the
tray.
The tray with these like cosmopolitans on there. It's like this is probably the first time in this guy's life he's ever delivered cosmopolitans on a tray in this bar.
Right. Those are not.
I can't believe he even knows how to make them.
Those are not a Texas Arlina or whatever we said kind of play. Texarlina kind of drink.
No.
Well, the thing is also, it's like I have to assume also the bullies are probably not cool to that bartender either. They're probably not cool to anybody in this town because they are like little shits.
I don't know. I mean, the bartender is trying to protect them the whole time.
Well, but it could be that he faces some retribution too.
I don't know. It's like I was an underage drinker at bars in Canada a little bit and elsewhere. And usually if they don't like you or if they're not cool to you, you don't get to drink there.
Yeah. You got to be cool.
You have to be cool or they'll just kick you out.
And yeah, whatever that phrase is.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I saw no redeeming qualities to these kids, and nobody in town should not see any redeeming qualities. They almost have to be feared to get anything that they want.
It also kind of feels like a thing where we're getting way in the weeds on this.
Yes.
But hey, this is what we do. This is Film Seizure.
This is what we do. Yeah.
It feels a little bit like this guy, it's not this guy's call. Like he's the bartender, but
he may not be the owner.
But to me, it feels like it's the owner who says football players drink. We serve football players. And this guy's like, fuck, could be my license. I'm the one that's going to get in trouble here, but he's kind of like has to do it. Yeah.
Right. Well, the cops are cool with the high school stars too. Like, it extends pretty far.
A little
probably.
Bit of a wink here and there.
Yeah.
But he does seem nervous when David mentions they're underage. After he wipes the floor with these kids, he's like tells them what story to make up, so that none of it gets back to him, but also with the implication of, you could get in trouble for serving these kids alcohol. So
it's when he wouldn't serve Luke when he's like,
and that too.
Where's your ID? He's like, did you take their IDs?
Did you check theirs?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so the bullies come back over with their cosmopolitan after they know that David had, and of course David being with Luke,
their mark.
basically have already got them calling him homophobic slurs just like they do to Luke constantly. Like that. Anyway, yeah, I fucking hate these kids. I'm glad they got their fucking asses handed to them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they throw the drink onto David. So, what's David's weapon?
His fireball, baby.
Fucking fireball right in the fucking eyes of one of the kids.
That hurt so much.
Yeah. Well, it hurts enough to where he can't see to punch. So he's punching his buddy's punching him. You know, like David's practically dancing in between these guys, letting them beat each other up. And before he starts breaking ankles, it's like he's putting these kids in hospital.
Oh, this Texarkana team is not going to the championship.
No, they've lost all their stars.
Yeah, the running back broke his ankle.
Yeah, I like that all the girls instantly screamed and ran out.
Scream and run. Yeah.
It's like, well, I guess
that cheesy, like close up, like hand waving screams. Like this movie
I know.
has funny moments. Like even like you mentioned earlier, not to go back to, like somewhere around here, Anna like does the back against the wall like 80s sync about David, you know, where you're like, oh, this is a John Hughes moment.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like that weird hodgepodge of stuff.
You wonder how much of it is intentional or subliminal, right? Like,
right?
How? Because obviously Adam Wingard grew up on all that stuff. Like
he watched the same movies we did.
All the movies we did, all the cliches.
And Simon Barrett did too.
He knows them all. Simon Barrett knows them all, but also like that makes them like subjective to them as well, right?
Yeah.
Like they might unconsciously just shoot and edit that kind of stuff because that's what they saw and know,
Yeah.
So it's almost postmodern in that sense, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is weird, but I think it's. I'm sorry, Jeff. I do think it's purposeful. It almost feels like when they take the Wonder Years, like a trailer of the Wonder Years, and put like the Shining music over it or something. You know what I mean? Like it almost feels like one of those purposeful nods, and that's what makes the tropes okay.
Yeah,
is that we're borrowing all this from different genres or different eras, and it doesn't. None of it makes sense.
Yeah,
together. Or no, none of it makes sense, but it does together, kind of.
Yeah,
and that also
individually it doesn't.
Jeff was saying earlier about it feeling kind of like a TV movie, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But then it's got all of these elements of cool sprinkled throughout, and somehow it just all kind of flows and works.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got all the makings of a cult film. Sorry, Jeff.
Absolutely, and and this sort of stuff. I mean, they still do it today. Both of these guys still do it today with the Godzilla Kong movie. Like you see little things like they're like the Dan Stevens character in that seems like he's from a different era, but he's there, he's listening to very specific era rock and roll. And it's like, they've done this stuff all their career together. It seems like, except for maybe Blair Witch. I think that's probably the one where it's trying to be as straightforward as possible. But yeah, I mean, it's like, that's just kind of what they do. Like it's kind of this hodgepodge of what would work at this specific moment that will enhance everything around it,
Right. And if you don't get the reference,
that's very cool.
If you don't get the reference, it's cool too. Right.
Yeah. Because now this is the reference for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but if you know like where it comes from, it's kind of like, oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like it adds to what you said earlier. It's just cool.
Yeah, it makes guys in their 40s say, "Yeah, I've seen this and I like it, and I like it now." Yeah,
the easiest fucking age of people to impress, guys in their 40s, probably.
Sadly, probably. Yeah. When it's done right, yep, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, so we have we don't find out until much later, but we had said that regional manager, Alan, jumped in front of the dad for his job.
Spencer. Yeah.
So he's probably dead down the line. The one person we think is going to die is the boyfriend, of Anna, right? Like that's the one kind of ruse in this movie.
That is one thing. I just thought of something. The mom, the reason why Anna is not there to receive David with Laura is because Laura says Anna works at night. We never see her work at night. Why? Because at night she goes out with her boyfriend. She's saying she's at work, but she's with her boyfriend late at night, and that's why she sleeps in.
Yes. Agreed.
Smart shit. That's fucking cool.
The most easily impressed
people on this planet. Yeah, I didn't do anything to shake that, did I?
No, you didn't. You just like making my points for me. Thank you, Jeff. I'm trying to think of where to go next with this because it really is just a series of
Dan Stevens being smoldering and hot.
Yeah, he is pretty hot in this.
Yeah, he is.
Because there's the scene. There's the scene where mom makes Anna invite him to the party that she's going to, and she's like fine, and she does, and then she's trying to get into the bathroom later to get ready, and David comes out, and he's just got the towel draped down, and
like barely covering his pubes.
Yeah, steamy, right? Because it's
because the steam comes out of the bathroom and then with him.
Tropey scene, like Wingard was setting up the shot, had him grinning into himself. He's like, we gotta make Dan Stevens look steamy as all hell here, right?
Yeah. He's pretty fit. That dude's pretty fit though. I was like, damn, I didn't know Dan Stevens was cut.
Well, that's the cool kind of bait and switch in this movie too. Like when I watched it, I'd only known Dan Stevens from Downton Abbey, and he's a pretty boy in that who dies tragically. It's all very prim and proper stuff. Yeah, it's all very British. So to see him play a bad guy was kind of jarring, and I also didn't take much for my brain to think, yeah, I can understand why people think that they could fight this guy. Like, he looks like a pretty boy. They don't know that he's special forces.
He doesn't walk around without his shirt on.
Yeah, and with jacked, pecs and
like he's got like a fucking 12-pack.
Yeah, exactly. But then he also does the I'm a sexy man thing at the party because he brings in both kegs, and he's got one. He's carrying one down, by the handle, and then the other one up on his shoulder. This is the
shit that I would have written as a joke.
Which is like Gaston from like Beauty and the Beast shit, right?
It's all written like a joke, but played super straight.
Oh,
I think this movie is somewhat a comedy. That's why it makes me think of that, like those trailers that like Ferris Bueller's or Wonder Years or whatever, them. What's funny, I didn't even realize this because I was not a Downton Abbey fan, but it's almost like Barbarian level kind of subversion, right?
It is very much so. Like his persona, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. You're taking a beloved character from a show. It'd be like taking Milo, blah, 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 from This Is Us and making him a villain or something.
I don't know who that is or that show, but.
No, Rocky Jr. Rocky Jr.
Oh, that guy.
He was also in Heroes. Yeah,
he was also in Heroes, but he was the character I think that died in This Is Us that they talk about all the time.
Wasn't he Mandy Moore's husband on that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
he died from a toaster accident.
I don't know anything about that show other than like every episode.
I'm gonna die of a toaster accident.
Like every episode.
Right. Sorry.
Although toaster accident sounds fucking hilarious.
I think a toaster fell in the fucking tub on him or something.
Oh my god!
Something weird like that. Unless it was a joke that
was he listening to White Rabbit at the same time?
Yes. White Rabbit.
When White Rabbit peaks.
I'm pretty sure he was listening to songs by Bread.
Oh, I like that.
This is why people tune into us.
I just had a listener tell me they really love our show, and I wonder if they will after this one.
Maybe even more. Come on, maybe. Come on now. Anyway,
I'm trying to find what Bread song he'd be listening to.
Please do.
If there's anything that has to do with Shocking, I mean, he'd be listening to Shocking Blue.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so they go to this party, and Anna's coworker, who's also a fucking smoke show, like seriously, I would eat at that diner every goddamn day. Every day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
And she's like,
be ordering pie all the time.
Yeah, and never getting it. Anyway,
it would probably be something emo, like "It Don't Matter to Me."
Yeah, is that the bread song?
Be the one. Yeah.
Okay. So she's like, "Hey, you want to see the rest of the house?" Because like he also tells her boyfriend to hit the fucking bricks. Because he's like coming in and starting problems, and she's like, and it's like, it's so funny because like her boyfriend looks like a child, and Dan Stevens is about to fuck up another kid, but he like, all right, I'm cool, I'm leaving, and she's like, so want to see the rest of the house and the inside of my house? And he's like, yep, and I'm like, yep.
There's that weird moment. Where she's like, "Are you not into this?"
Oh yeah, this is when
and then he flips on a switch and he like rolls over on top of her,
and it's a little rough.
Oh, you are into this because she feels a little, bit of that bread, I guess.
A little Danny Stevens coming through.
But what is that? Like, is he like lost somewhere? Is his neurological programming? Like, does it have to kick in?
Well, he probably doesn't. He probably doesn't go on many missions in which he has to fuck.
Yeah, that's probably been
he's just killing guys. Yeah,
probably been a while. He doesn't strike me as someone. He seems asexual.
In a way, yeah. Like it's part.
It's more. This is more of like playing a part, and he has to like get in the right frame of mind.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it is because immediately, as soon as they finish. He's finished. He fucking leaves that room.
Yeah.
She comes out all, they're like perfect. Like there's no must hair or nothing. It's like they just come out and it's like, all right. It's not long after that before Anna's like, I had a fight with my boyfriend. Want to go? And he's like, all right, here's my next
boyfriend's name Bug. That's what I want to know.
What?
That's the boyfriend and Uncle Buck. Sorry, this is when the moment where I'm like, this is fucking Uncle Buck. He's got he's got a drill in his fucking trunk. I'm sure.
See, it does. I mean, I'm sure at some point he's always got a quarter in his pocket to tell a woman to go get a rat.
Hi, I'm Buck Melanome, Wally Russell's wart. Did I say wart? I mean her growth, her tumor. Here's a quarter. Go downtown and have a rat and all that thing off your face. That is not exactly how it goes, but that's the version.
That is far more than I had. I had just here's a quarter, have a rat and all that off your face. Anyway, I was with you far enough. Chuck is gone. He's so good. He's lost. But anyway, and so she's like, I'm not cool with my boyfriend right now. Let's go. And like, she's like kind of quiet on. Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because like they're driving back and she's like doesn't want to talk about it, and then she immediately opens up. It's like a superpower with him. And it's like she immediately opens up and he's like, oh, if I had a girlfriend like you, wherever it was that he was going, I wouldn't have gone over to the Middle East to get shot at. And she's like, oh, that kind of makes my bits feel funny. And he's like, hey, I like your music too. And she's like, what? It's like, my bits feel extra funny now. It's like, will you give me a mixtape of this? And she's like, fuck yeah, I will.
Which the song is Masquerade, is the title of that song that's playing. Kind
of perfect.
Yes, exactly. By the clan of Zymox. I don't think there's one person in the Special Forces who's ever been a Clan of Zymox fan, but
now that's being reductive, Jason. I'm sure there's somebody.
That's quite a sweeping stereotype, I know.
Yes, I mean, come on. It's almost as if you are making every Special Forces out to look and act like Dan Stevens.
Jeff's never made any sweeping generalities about anything ever.
especially about Italians while watching a bad fucking Bruce Willis movie.
Or pretty much like any ethnic group.
No, not ethnic group.
Not ethnic group. You're
nationality.
Right. Nationality. Yes. Nationalities are not off limits to Jeff.
Especially ones that are northern.
Nationalities are not off limits to Jeff, but going to countries is.
Well, I don't have a passport, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, they won't let me have one. It's like, no, we're not letting this guy in. They get home and she immediately goes to work on the mixtape, and he just sits on the bed and stares like he's about to fucking murder the world. Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like music stings out of like Halloween 3. It
is very like to remind you kind of where you're at. But again, another thing that's like out of place, right? Like hodgepodgey shit kind of.
Yeah. Oh, and we get a really, you're starting to wonder like, all right, we kind of don't believe this dude is all that good, but he's not completely bad yet. But then he starts asking one of the guys at the party for a gun, and if he knows how to get a gun, and we're like, oh, why does he need a gun, right?
Oh yeah, he fucks with that guy a lot too.
Yeah, and then the guy asks, well, what do you need a gun for? He's like, I don't know, I'm military, I just like having guns.
I like guns. I like having a gun.
It's like, well, all right. I mean,
when we have
tracks.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of does. I mean, like, yeah.
And we have Anna kind of falling for him. I'm putting in quotes. And I really like that this movie doesn't go there fully. It's really good that it does not. I would hate it if it did.
Yes, it keeps the tension right where it needs to be. Yep.
Right, and you see it on her face. Sorry. No, I was just going to say, you see it on her face that she's resisting it. Like she shakes it off multiple times. Like, what are you doing? Whatever. It's like, this is just my dead brother's friend, or whatever. It's right. Like she's fighting it appropriately.
But once she decides to make the mixtape, which is no small thing.
It is not. It is not a small thing. Maybe.
It's practically going into the bedroom with her friend at the party.
It's like writing a love letter. It's like writing a love letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And she does it. She lays back in bed. She's listening to a song, and like I remember making mixtapes for people and having like that thought of like, does every moment in this song capture what I want it to capture? Kind of thing. And this is like 80s Kid Chuck, right? Like when I was like 13, 14.
Well, what are you talking about? You made that one mixtape for me and all the songs were Even the Losers.
Yeah.
Why did you do that to me? Did you lie on the bed and think about that?
You didn't even get lucky.
But anyway, this will really sting.
But the next morning when she's feeling all good about it is when she hears him outside talking.
Snaps her back to reality.
Yes. Talking to somebody. We find out it's a doctor from Florida who worked on John Travolta and Nick Cage at one point because he's going to give him a new face.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, okay, maybe he's not who he says he is.
And she immediately, what does she do next?
She
immediately calls the base that they were stationed at. Yeah.
She's smart. She's like, none of this really feels right. Couple things. The song where she's getting all dreamy during when she's making the mixtape is Love and Rockets, Haunted When the Minutes Drag. Great song.
Yeah, Love and Rockets. Good
from the album Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven. Also great album title. But then this is a weird thing I thought about when we started talking about getting a plastic surgery to change his face. So do you know what movie has been tied to Adam Wingard and Steve Barrett?
Face Off.
Simon.
Exactly. Face Off 2.
Really?
Uh-huh. They're supposedly working on a Face Off 2 movie. Yeah.
I mean, they were obviously thinking about that movie, at least in some respect. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They had to be.
1,000%.
So I wouldn't be
either that or
if they were just like tossing around dumb ideas for Face Off sequels one night.
Holy shit, dude. If they get Dan Stevens in a Face Off 2, like who?
Dude, Set it in the same universe. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, he could be the same damn character.
Yes.
It would be awesome.
Yes. Say something else so I can say yes.
Well, I immediately was starting to think about You Only Live Twice when they made Sean Connery a Japanese man.
Yes, yeah.
That's where my brain goes. Birds never nest in a bare tree. Oof. That's a famous Japanese proverb from that movie. God. From that movie. Oof. I love that movie. I love that soundtrack.
I'm glad you were able to get Bond into this episode.
Yay!
I mean, it makes sense.
Next
there was a gun in it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a gun in it. Yeah, immediately Bond. Yeah. Any movie that's got a gun of any kind.
The most tenuous of connections, you will fucking find it.
Oh my gosh.
I wish I had that though. Like, it would probably be Scream for me. Like, if I was to make connections to stuff, but that it's not old enough like you guys' favorite stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Bond was ingrained into me from a very early age. So, and
right, and so much has happened after it that can be linked to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she hears him talking, and again, like Jeff said, snaps her back to reality. She calls the base. They kind of give her. They don't give her much, right? At first.
Yeah, they're like, we have to research this. We'll call you back.
But the lady on the other end gets the ping that says, "Hey, contact this special forces group immediately if this name comes up." And that's when we get. What's that guy's name, Jason, that you like? Lance Reddick?
Yep.
Yeah.
Lance Reddick, who I guess you said he passed away?
He did recently.
Last year. Yeah.
That dude should have done Unsolved Mysteries after Robert Stack, like 1,000,000%. Like, his voice is perfect. Yeah.
He's great. He's just great. He was on that show Fringe.
Yep, I remember that. He was in Lost for a little bit, wasn't he?
And yeah, he was. He was on Lost. And he's in all the John Wick movies. He's awesome in those movies.
Oh, he was in the shitty Jonah Hex movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was in '98 Godzilla also.
But I do like him as well. Like, I guess you would call him a character actor. But he's the same character all the time.
He plays Lance Reddick in every movie. Yeah, in every TV show.
He kind of does. Yeah. He plays lots of detectives and like serious types. Yeah.
He's done some voice work too. So I mean, that's perfect. Yeah.
But he is obviously probably the leader or part of the program that made David, who's not David, what he is, right? Because they end up calling Micah back and or no, they don't. No,
they call the guy. They're like, okay, they call the number and he's like, I don't know, just tell him he died. It's like, he's like very dismissive. It's like, I don't know, tell him he died and whatever. I'll tell my guy. And he tells Lance Reddick, and Lance Reddick's like, oh fuck. And then they have to leave a meeting because they're like meeting about like this program that both, like, because I do think, because they were like, oh, you like Caleb as in Peterson? It's like,
yes, they own Caleb, David, and whomever. Do we ever even find out who he really is?
No. You're talking about like David. What the organization? No, David is David.
No, David's dead. David. Oh no, wait. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's convoluted.
I mean, it's a little convoluted.
It is convoluted. It's the one part of this movie that I still can't. I'm just like, what? So I just
there are two things
about it too much.
Right. Because he likely is David because he is in the picture with Caleb. And when the name came up, they knew to immediately call. And they're like, I don't know, tell him he died. Whatever the standard response is what he says. Too. And then he's like, yeah, when you're in special forces, you have to protect that. And so it's like, there's enough to make me believe that it really is David.
But the real David had a different face. When the kid looks it up, he says, I looked him up. It took me 2 seconds. It's a different person.
Yeah, he's not David. He's somebody else. He's pretending he's David.
But it's like, why? He's got all David's shit. He has dog tags, his papers and everything. It's like, why?
It made me also wonder, it's like, did this David, now I'm going to say it with the quotation marks, did he kill Caleb too?
You mean quotation mark David R. David that's in this movie, not the one that's actually dead?
No, the one that we have, Dan Stevens. So did Dan Stevens kill Caleb?
I think he did.
I think he did. I think he
did.
The whole
unit. Yeah.
Yeah. He went,
and
there was a few like quick throwaway lines that felt like when you first meet Lance Reddick and his squirrely buddy,
yeah,
his squirrely underling. But it's like what? Huh? You're not really in like the right context.
Well, because it shifts so drastically to that like government center place. And like government secrets and business and stuff.
Yeah, it's like 28 days later, where all of a sudden you're in a different movie.
Yeah, right. Wait a minute. It's like we've got to establish some context here, like just anything,
right?
But just the bare minimum. So it never really feels like cohesive, but it's enough.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't really matter. This guy is here.
But they're doing they're doing some experiments on soldiers, fucking with their brains to make them super soldiers. There's some sense of like secret identity aspect to this, and there's obviously David is a guy who knows how to find plastic surgeons who can change his face. So did he have his face changed, or is he gonna get his face changed, or has he had his face changed before? And this was like,
well, was it really David with a new face?
Right, exactly. It's like none of that stuff ever really presents a clear answer.
Was the guy who did the face the same guy who did the face in Batman when he made the Joker's face? Is that the kind of situation that Dan Stevens is going to?
And then Lance Reddick makes the comment to Anna. He's like, he's programmed to protect his identity, and he'll do that at any cost. Even if he didn't want to do it, I doubt he could stop. Right? So it's something tied to protecting his identity, I guess.
Yeah.
But he also doesn't want to be in this experiment anymore.
Yeah, that part doesn't make sense either. What is he escaping from?
Maybe his brain is. Maybe it is. It's an experiment gone bad.
Yeah, his brain is fried and he's out of control now.
Yeah, and it's using. There's a lot of conflicting things because he also says he makes the family his mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was what he was singularly focused on. But when everything else went to hell, right? Because he wanted to leave this town before, pretty much leave it, better for this family. But I don't think he actually intended on killing them. But when he was his back was against the wall because the government agents show up, it all kind of...
Yeah, when Anna became a little too curious, that flipped another switch in him.
That too. It's like, oh, I can't have that. No one can know these things. Yeah,
and that's because Luke fucking outs her.
Yes.
Well, that especially happens later, but yeah, because they have the big blow up where she's like, "That is not who he says he is," and he's like, "Well, I don't have an ID. I don't have driver's license yet. I just run everywhere," which he does. He does just run everywhere. That's insane. And then he's like, "I've got these dog tags," and Dad's like, "Good enough for me." There's no picture on dog tags. Anyway,
no,
Dad's stupid. Dad's an idiot. But he's like, sounds good to me. And he's like, go to your room. You suck. Your boyfriend's a murderer too. And she's like, fine. And so she takes off for the bedroom and he comes in. It's like, hey, I want that CD. I'm definitely not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I'm going to get that CD.
He charm threatens her.
Yeah.
So
really creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. This is everything is off the rails at this point.
This is a really good scene because he sits down in the bed and he's like, "We're cool, right?" Basically, and he's like, "Okay," and she just looks at him and he goes, "Okay."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay." It's kind of like no context at all, but very well delivered. Like, we are not in an agreement here.
She's trying to keep together. Like, Maka is like on the verge of tears. Yeah.
Right. But her okay is almost like, not to bring up The Last of Us again, but it's like I'm just going to agree with you. but I'm not really agreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I'm agreeing with you to get you out of my face.
Yes.
But the moment you're gone, and when I take my brother to school the next morning, we're really going to get the wheels turning.
He knows it too, by the way. She says, okay, like she is not okay. We're not okay. Nobody's okay.
Nobody's okay. Yeah, this scene comes right on the heels of where she's confronted him, and there's tension in that scene too, because he's playing with that knife. That butcher.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
The whole time he's being
and I'm like, oh shit, everybody's dead.
Everyone in this room, he could kill them all in 15 seconds with that knife. Yeah.
and he's calculating it too. You can kind of see it.
See him doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That does end up being Chekhov's knife, too.
Yeah, sure does.
Yep.
Sure does.
You're absolutely right.
So in the morning, Anna takes Luke to school and she's like, hey, I need you to do a thing for me. It's like, I still don't believe David. I need you to look at, I took a picture from his phone that she's swiped from him earlier. Now, in the meantime, he has obtained multiple guns, killed the gun dealer and the friend of Anna, and Kristen is her friend, killed that guy. And that has been discovered, and her boyfriend has been arrested for it because he framed him by putting the gun in her boyfriend's house, knowing that they will also, even if he didn't kill the guy, they can lock him up for all the drugs he has as a dealer. So he's already manipulated that scenario where she has no other, like, in a way, he's removing a knight from the chessboard, a guy who could come back and cause a problem if necessary, if he's not keeping his guard up. Then, so she's like, she took the phone, she took some pictures of phone numbers on the phone because it was also around that time that he had called about getting a new face. He needed to take this face off. Yeah. And so, and like Luke is like, you took a picture of his phone. I was like, yeah, I did. Well, this, like, Luke is like, okay, I'm with you on this. And he's like starting to look at it, but one of those fucking bullies comes back around, starts, dropping slurs again. And this time Luke beats the shit out of him because David had said, you know what? Sometimes you just got to fucking kill everyone around you and burn it all down and then just leave. This is really good too. And I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
go for it.
The fact that David gave him his knife when they were carving pumpkins earlier in a like whatever. Like this whole scene, you're like, he's going to pull out the knife. Two Chekhov knives. But this.
What the hell?
Whoa, what balloons. The hell was all those balloons? Why?
I was doing like the 2 sign and the balloons.
Sorry, everyone that's listening.
If you ever watch John Boy, sometimes this happens to them on Zoom when they're doing shows. It's so funny. Yeah.
Listeners, we just had Zoom throw balloons into our meeting, just so you know what happened. But yeah,
I'm about to drop another Batman reference, but go ahead first. Go.
This whole scene, you think he's going to pull that knife.
Yep.
Right? Like he was given a knife, now he's going to use it. Yep. And when it ends and he doesn't, you're like, oh, because it is Chekhov's knife. Like if you present this weapon, it's going to be used. But instead, he hits him in the face with a yardstick and basically stands up for himself, which is like one of those moments in another kind of movie that this isn't. You're like, okay, the hero has made an impact on this kid in a way where he now defends himself, which is a good thing. Right. It is a good thing. You don't want to promote violence, but
it does also create the next conflict, right? Because the bully and Luke are taken to the principal's office, and Laura does not come in with Spencer. No, she comes in with David as if he's now
an idiot.
Yeah, now that he's like the de facto dad and brother of this family. Yeah. And he's like basically like blackmails the principal by saying, well, Luke's gay. So what's that going to do if you didn't let a gay student defend himself this is a hate crime. What's that going to say to you in the paper?
Slurred and being bullied. These are hate crimes.
Shit, even if he isn't gay, it's still a hate crime.
It is.
You don't have to call him gay.
Right. But it's picking on him because he thinks he's, or like you could make that argument. Yeah, absolutely. And like, which is funny because not once does Laura turn to him and is like, wait, my son is gay? Or wait, my son isn't gay. Yeah, she doesn't, there's no reaction.
Gay. Well, I'm sorry, I'm joking. But.
Yeah. But whatever. She's like, wow, this is working. So it's like basically they settle for after school detention for a month. And that whole like Dan Stevens in that scene of like negotiating that is fucking
really
brilliant.
Good. It's really good.
Brilliant.
But that does lead to Luke's like main big mistake that I was talking about earlier.
He betrays his sister at this point.
He betrays his sister by telling David, who is on his side, who has taught him how to protect himself, like, hey, you might be in trouble here. And what I don't like about this and why I think it's different or more of a mistake is that he says, I don't care.
Yeah.
If you're that person.
Luke expresses some kind of surprising and shocking moral ambivalence here.
He's like a sociopath almost.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care if you're not who you say you are. You kill a bunch of people.
Killed my dad's like boss and all. He's like, I don't care. It's like, whoa, dude.
It would be different if he didn't believe it. Like I would be more on board with your thought earlier, Jeff, if he was just like, I don't believe any of the shit they said about you.
Right.
But this is what is being said. Not, I agree. Or I know that you did this dumb shit, but I don't give a shit.
But I mean, and some of that is though, that I do think it plays to like, who's he going to look up to? He's got a dead.
We just can't excuse him this.
No.
It is. No,
it's not. Yeah. I mean, like I understand why he does it. I don't give him, I don't offer him any quarter for it. Right. Like he's doing it because he doesn't have a male role model in a way. Right. His dad's not teaching him how to fight. His dad's a piece of shit, really. Like he's an idiot.
Whatever. I love him. He's hilarious.
He's hilarious, but he's a doofus, right? The brother's dead. So he's out of the picture. He doesn't really have much of a relationship with Anna, and certainly Anna's not going to teach him how to fight. So it's like he's kind of like, in a way, he is now kind of having that kind of, I can stick up for myself, almost like giving Dan Stevens a hero fantasy that he's connected.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. The only problem I have, and we don't have to belabor this, is that if he just didn't say, I don't care.
Yeah.
This kind of person would have made it better for me.
Sure. I mean, and I mean, it could show, I mean, like, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like, I think if they rewrote the movie one more time, he probably wouldn't say, I don't care. Or I don't know. He would just say, I don't know. I don't want to know. Or I don't know anything. Or
this
whatever.
is also like earlier in the movie when David has a conversation with him about being bullied at school. He tells him all the things he should do to his bullies, including burning their house down with their family in.
Families inside, yeah.
And then adds, what's the worst they could do to you? Like, that's kind of a big clue that this guy is fucked up, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, you say that when you're like, oh, I fucking hate that guy, or whatever, like in the heat of the moment. But David's thinking about it,
and further evidence that I think this is supposed to be laughed at in a way.
Sure.
Like tonally, it's like it's the opposite of what it's doing, kind of.
Yeah, I mean that the way it's played so straight, you have to laugh at that moment. Yeah. It's like that's what's kind of brilliant about this movie is that there's so many moments that are played so like deadly seriously straight that it's like I'm chuckling at it, and it's not.
It's close to a satire, but it's not
exactly.
a satire.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But yes, so Luke saying this to David makes David go into fucking full on identity protection mode.
Yeah.
And he's I guess he's just hanging up clothes with the mom. All the dry clothes getting hung up on the.
Well, you got to get that nice. You got to get that nice dusty
right.
Texarlina scent to it.
Yes. Yeah. But it is kind of funny that all the clothes are dry that they're hanging up. But this is when our buddy Lance shows up. And he's just there to question the mom. Well, look for Anna. But Anna's not there. The mom's there. And she's like, oh, yeah, David's in the house. And they're like, oh, shit, there's only 5 of us.
Yeah, because he wanted to bring in like a whole fucking battalion. Like he was calling in the fucking Air Force, the Marines, the Navy. It's like he wanted everybody there.
Yeah, he wanted Colonel Sanders there.
It's like Colonel Sanders rides in on a giant chicken.
Holy shit. Yeah. I don't even know where to go from there.
It would have been his first kaiju, yeah.
It's like, wow, Colonel Sanders is from Joust.
Are you saying it was Adam Wingard's first kaiju?
Yeah.
It was a giant chicken with Colonel Sanders on top.
You can have that one for free, Adam, for your next Godzilla movie. Boxzilla.
But yeah, this like leads to the classic like house fight where everyone's shooting at a level that is never going to hurt anyone. Right. Is hilarious. Yeah. Like 6 feet off the ground. Like nobody's just going to stand there and get shot by you. Fucking aim at the fucking ground or something.
But the army guys are going to stand there to be shot at by Dan Stevens.
Yes, because I mean he is super soldier, right? At this point, he's that character.
He's the damn Terminator at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, I was really surprised when he pulled out his own eye and he had like a little red robot eye underneath it in the one scene.
Oh man, there's that one scene where his eyes are so blue. I was like, man, he's been hitting that spice. You know, like
he's coming in straight from Arrakis when he runs into town. I'm surprised I actually got the planet right.
You did.
I don't like
job.
Dune.
But yeah, it's a big firefight, fun stuff.
Everybody dies.
Everybody dies except for
Lance doesn't die.
Reddick. But yes, this is the scene where he's in the kitchen with the mom, and you kind of still get the sense that he's not going to kill her, right? He's just like, I got to get out of here. I didn't want it to go this way. But then once he kills her, well, she calls. He's got the knife in his hand, and it's like it's gonna go either way. But then when she calls for Lance, it kind of like he's in the kitchen, so he's yelling where he is. That's when he like instinct kicks in, and he just stabs her. And at that point, it's like, all right, well, I got to take out the rest of the family.
Yeah, which he gets the dad immediately upon escaping.
Yeah, runs into him head on.
Yeah, he's like, he sees him coming. He's like, all right, here we go. And he puts on which when he put on the safety belt at first, I thought, man, he is a real stickler about that, because he told Anna earlier, please put on your safety belt. And it's like, he's a real stick. Oh no, I see what he's doing. Yeah, because he does not kill Spencer immediately because Spencer had an airbag. So he has to shoot him.
And he's like, he even has like a moment when he sees he's still alive. He's like, God damn it. Like, I got to go over there and kill him. He doesn't want to. There is something kind of at odds in his brain where he's like, he can't help but obey his programming, but there's part of his moral center that is like kind of fighting it.
But I will also say that
regrets it, you know?
I will at least say this is the end of that, though. Yeah, because after this, he goes straight to the diner.
Yeah.
Luckily, Lance Reddick gets there first because David is now on foot and he's limping. Yeah. So Lance Reddick has commandeered a car from a guy who's like, I think he's dead. It's like, get out! I'm taking your car. And then and so like Lance is able to get to Anna before David can get to the diner. To which he then kills Anna's hot friend and then blows the place up, killing everybody. By the way,
some Chekhov's grenades. Yeah,
those guys. Yeah, because we saw the grenades earlier when he gets the guns. By the way, the people in the restaurant who are just kind of like, "Huh, he just shot that girl."
Yeah,
I hope she's gonna remember to. I'm glad she remembered to bring over the coffee refill before he shot her.
Oh. Well, it's kind of
because they don't react.
They don't react. It's kind of strange. It's like the opposite of the bar scene, right? Where the girls like start screaming and running out with their hands above their heads. Everyone in the diner just kind of sits there still.
I mean, these are like big old fat, Texarkana guys who are like they're not going to get very far in their John Deeres, Yeah, now I'm ripping on these guys in the South too.
Well,
ain't nobody safe around here.
At least Texarkana isn't a real place.
I'd say it about a real place. Some of these guys
would. Yeah. But yeah, he blows it up.
I can't stop that programming in my brain. Yeah, he blows the place up, to which Lance Reddick then it's like, I don't know if anybody's dead in there. It's like, yeah, everybody's dead in there. But he's like, maybe he did it so that the cops would be distracted. Nah. It's like, you're not a very good liar. You're not as good of a liar as Dan Stevens is, Lance Reddick. But Anna is like, we got to go get Luke.
Right. Yeah.
So they got to get to the community center where Luke is serving his time.
This is a detention, yeah, because he's going to help set up the dance, the
Halloween dance, which is all happening during Halloween season,
which is really cool, man. That would be a fun dance. All the tables had like little like seance orbs, like lit seance orbs on them, and there was a pretty bitchin' maze.
And as you're walking,
to get into the
haunted house,
yeah, the haunted dance, yeah. Pretty cool.
There'd be a lot of making out in those haunted hallways and at that high school, I'm sure.
But I like all that, like, there's like 3 scares with one prop in there with the door that pops real hard. And I'm like, that's so good.
Yeah. So good. And I like when they get there, how exasperated Lance Reddick gets. He's yelling out. He's like, what is this place? What's going on here? and Vic is trying to explain that it's a maze for the dance. And then he hears the guy who's, he's the detention monitor, I guess. And he's like, how do I get out of this maze? And he gives them the directions. And it's all like left, right, I think, right?
Yeah.
He's like, did you get that?
Up, down, ABBA.
Yeah. And he just says, yeah.
But
they get through. And this is the single goofiest line in the movie. But the detention monitor says, excuse me, but you're interrupting detention right now.
Well, he forgot that he just gave directions to the FBI.
Yeah, he's like he said he was a federal agent, and he's like that's what he comes out with is, excuse me, but you're interrupting detention right now.
Yeah.
Well, in Texarkana, detention is the most sacred of things.
Apparently.
So and they're not going to be too kind to government G-men coming around, and fucking with it. So yeah, but Dan Stevens shows up.
he's blowing in the bronze ear.
Yeah,
he wind blew somebody's ear.
Yeah. Hold your breath.
Dan Stevens comes in and he's like, all right, well, I'm going to kill this detention monitor guy. Is he the guy that he knocks all his teeth out? Because they said
to be.
I thought he slit his throat, but maybe.
Well, one body is found sans teeth.
Yes, it has to be him because he's the only other person there.
Yeah, because he just ends up basically shooting Lance.
He shoots Reddick, Lance Reddick in the mirror.
Yeah,
room, the House of Mirrors or whatever. Yeah,
and then he puts the gun down next to him, which Anna picks up.
Right,
and then she hides Luke behind a barrel. And he's sitting there with his butterfly knife that he was given. And then Anna makes a loud noise somewhere when David is like, I'm going to get you, like Big Bad Wolfing in there.
Mm-hmm. He's Big Bad Wolfing.
He's Uncle Bucking. But anyways, this is when we get the payoff of the butterfly knife because...
Yeah, Anna shoots David, and then he falls into fog. And
David,
she goes around and kicks around in the fog, and he's gone.
I like the kick and fog shit.
David also stabs her in the thigh, I think.
Right, because then she pulls the gun at that point. She kicks around, and then he jumps on her and starts strangling her, and is about to strangle the life out of her when Chekhov's butterfly knife returns.
Luke stabs him a bunch of times, and last time in the heart, it seems. And this kills me, man. Like, this is, if you didn't think that there was like some satirical parody going on,
right
here, it's in this death scene. It's all right there. Like, okay, come on, right? Because and he even does the thumbs up, like Terminator 2 thumbs up.
It's not Paul Rubens and Buffy, but it's pretty close.
And he says, and the last thing he says is, he gives him the thumbs up. It's don't feel bad.
I would have done the same
thing. Yeah. Oh my god, so good, but it's so cheesy.
But that's not really the end, because the place also catches on fire thanks to the shenanigans of this fight.
Anna shot a lamp or something.
Yeah, probably having like hay bales inside the community center is not a good idea. with
actual oil lanterns.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
So that the place catches on fire. They've been saved. The firefighters go in. They say, "Well, we only found two bodies. We found two bodies, one without teeth." Meanwhile, Anna and Luke are getting helped in the ambulance, and we see a limping firefighter come out, to which Anna perks up in the last lines of the movie.
What the fuck? It's funny.
Credits. Almost perfect movie.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking good.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. Yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it.
I mean, this is definitely a put it on for people who just like to have fun, or you can play this movie when fucking ever, right? It can be on in the background. It can be, we've talked about other movies that are like this, that like paying too much attention will probably ruin it. Like if you're really trying to figure it out, but the level of fun and homage to other stuff, and even waffling on whether they're trying to be funny at times, is like, it's good consideration stuff. I like it. I enjoyed it.
Yes. Very, very solid movie.
And fuck, I love Dan Stevens.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's great.
He's great in everything. Truly
makes you want to rewatch Legion for sure.
Yeah, I never finished it either, so I need to get back to that at some point.
Wait, was he Charlie's son in that?
Yes.
Was he the lead? Whoa, okay. I never watched it because I didn't have FX at the time it was on.
He's excellent in it, and it's also got Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah,
she's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and the Shadow King is a major character in it. I mean, it's good stuff.
It's really it's trippy as all hell.
I read the Legion comic that came out about 12 years ago, whenever it was. Pretty trippy stuff there too, because like all of his different personalities are kept in a cage in his brain, and I'm pretty sure the TV series follows a lot of that.
It's pretty heavily based on him in the Psych Ward.
Yeah.
Just to say.
Speaking of Aubrey Plaza, she's also very good in Agatha All Along. Definitely.
Oh yeah,
I love Aubrey Plaza.
She's fantastic. Anyway. This is really good. I mean, it's kind of funny between Micah Monroe and Dan Stevens. They've been in 4 movies, one of which Dan Stevens was in, like we said earlier, was the Godzilla Kong movie. I've seen all 4 of these movies this year, now a 5th time with both of them together. Fantastic.
Oh God, yeah, he was he was in a lot of stuff this year.
Yeah, he was in Cuckoo.
But Cuckoo, man, he's great in that.
Yeah, he's in Abigail, and he's the kaiju veterinarian in Kong versus Godzilla X Kong.
Giant chicken.
Yeah.
I just realized the writer of this did Azrael, which I thought was okay.
Yeah, I saw that too this year.
I thought
I kind of checked out through part of it, but I appreciate what was going on in it. I kind of liked it as an experiment.
Sure. But
it was a lot better experiment than Skinamarink.
And I will watch. Oh my God, why can't I remember her name? Holy shit! Who's the main character in Azrael? Somebody.
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving in anything. She's another one of those people that I just love.
Man, this is also like the year of the Antichrist. Like,
I know.
We had what? First Omen. We had Immaculate. We had Azrael. All Antichrist movies. We elected one.
That was the final conflict. That was Saint Neil, Jason. I think you're confused.
I don't want to get too political here, but I know a lot of people that say Obama was the Antichrist, and it's just.
Well, I also know a lot of people who said that he was the Antichrist too.
Yes, he is. Yeah, let's not get political.
Yeah,
not right now.
I will say we have long ditched Twitter, X, whatever the fuck that place is called. So like everybody else on your social media, you can find us on Blue Sky if you are interested in that.
Nice segue, Jeff.
Word.
Yeah. What's next? What's next?
What our next is I mentioned Batman earlier, and if it wasn't for Batman, this would be my favorite by far. Tim Burton movie, Ed Wood.
Yeah.
I mean, Batman and Ed Wood is so far fucking ahead of all of Tim Burton's rest of his library.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm even counting Pee-wee. I like Big Adventure, but that's a distant third. Yeah, that is, I mean.
I would probably agree with these things. But I don't know if it's a distant third, but it's third. Yeah.
I'll be the judge of that. I mean, I've seen all of those movies, but
then you got like Beetlejuice, and you've got like Big Fish, and then after that, it's a fucking wasteland. After
we'll get it.
We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Next week. So there's a little tease for you.
Yeah, but Ed Wood, another one long on the list to cover. It's 30 years old this year, much like Shawshank. It was one of the movies that beat Shawshank in one of those categories.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so that is next Wednesday, December 4th. So go to filmseizure.com, find out all the places you can subscribe to the podcast, all the social media sites that we are still on that aren't overrun by Nazis. Fucking send Dan Stevens over in there. Anyway,
Air Stevens.
Yeah, Air Stevens in. And then he was, Anyway, do that. This Monday, same site, filmseizure.com. I've got a new episode of Monster Mondays that is December 2nd, and it is 1993's Body Snatchers.
That's a good one, as I remember.
It is a good one. Abel Ferrara. So anyway, do those things, filmseizure.com. That's what you do. And then if you are wanting to read an 8,500 word magnum opus I have written at my website, bmovieanima.com, then Friday is your day. It's Black Friday. You're not doing anything that day. So go over to my website and read my review of Madam Web. It has way too many words for that piece of shit, but I was making a point. Anyway, do that. But until next week, when we make some bad movies, have some fun with a great cast with Ed Wood, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I'm Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.